This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And today we're broadcasting from gorgeous Scottsdale, Old Town Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's either heaven or hell, and today it's hell. It is hot as hell, yet it's a dry heat. It really is not that bad. I promise you. So we have a very important show for you today because it's really kind of about a lot of things. It's about giving back. It's about being successful. It's about studying and just being overall. A lot of people become successful and it goes to their heads and become assholes. But that's not what this show is about. So today we have a very, 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 very special guest. His name is Devon Canard. He is a rock star for the Arizona Cardinals. He plays my favorite position, outside linebacker. And he used to play for Kim's favorite team, the New York Giants. Kim, what do you want to say about your love of football and the New York Giants and the whole thing?
And by the way, I'm up here in Payton because it is very hot in Phoenix and it's a little bit cooler up in the mountains of Arizona where I am. But the very, very first doll, Devon, you'll appreciate this. The very, very first, I got two dolls. They wasn't like a little pretty little girl doll. It was a doll of the New York Giants and the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
those were my two first dolls. So
that's actually hilarious.
Giants fan, big time.
No Barbie dolls, but Giants.
Barbie dolls.
So, Devon, you play, give us a little bit of your background because you're from Arizona and now you're playing with the Arizona Cardinals professional football team. So please bring us up to speed a little about your background and your evolution.
Yeah, my dad played in the NFL 13 years professionally, and he spent majority of his years with the Arizona Cardinals. So that's how I ended up being born here and grew up here. And, I'm going into my 7th year now, spent 4 years in New York, the last 2 in Detroit, and, ended up being a free agent and being able to sign a deal and 3-year deal here in Arizona, play for the hometown team where my dad played as well. There's not too many people who can say father and son played in the NFL and also for the same team. So, that's pretty cool. And, being able to be home and be around family again is awesome.
Well, congratulations. To make the pros, that's unbelievable. That is such a hard road, Yeah. And I just interviewed Rod Smith of the Broncos and Terrell Davis of the Broncos, and what you guys go through to get there. And Rod was captain of the team, and Terrell is MVP. What you guys have to do, because every high school kid in America is gunning for that position.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is a special magic that gets you all the way to the top?
Because what separates the ones that make it from the ones that don't?
I'm a firm believer, the people who go the extra mile, and I think it applies in sports, but really in anything you're doing. My dad kind of instilled in that in me at a young age. Do the extra work. If I do exactly what everybody else is doing, how can I expect to get ahead? So, I've always been taught, and I still believe, I got to study a little more, get there a little earlier and get a little extra work in, make sure I'm getting, proper rest and sleep and, doing those little things and little habits, they have big results down the line. The idea of compound interest that works in sports as well. You make little deposits every day and those things turn into big things down the line.
Yeah, Rod was a captain of the Broncos. He never missed a day of practice. He always came early, and he always left later.
Yeah,
and that's that little extra.
And you were
absolutely. You
were captain of the Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah, I was captain my last year in New York, and then the last 2 years in Detroit. And it's an honor to be voted team captain by your teammates, your coaches, your peers. I've also been an NFLPA rep, so representing the union and all my teammates on every team I've been on. So to be in these leadership roles amongst men is something I've always taken seriously, and I try to use that platform to the best of my ability on educating myself and getting the information to the guys and leading the best way I can, which I think is by example.
Well, really, really, congratulations. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And, I hate to tell you this, my uncle was drafted by the Detroit Lions in World War II.
Oh, wow.
He stepped on a landmine in Italy, and that ended his career.
I mean, I hope it didn't end his life.
No. He's tough. He just bounced. But anyway, no, he ripped his leg apart. So that, he was a running back too. So it kind of ended it. But he was my role model for football because my poor dad was kind of a pussy. But my Uncle Tom was a son of a bitch. God, he was a son of a bitch. I remember where he lived on Maui, in the Hawaii, with all these sand dunes. And I was a fat kid. And I went out there, and he says, "Okay, fat boy, you're going up and down those dunes." I said, "No, I'm going to play football." He says, "That's why you're going up and down those dunes."
Man.
And he had me running up and down those dunes trying to get my weight off. And I said, "I thought football players were fat guys." He says, "No."
That is hilarious. Did you want to play football after that?
Yeah, I did. I loved the game. And then my coach was a guy named Herman Clark with the Clark brothers. They played for the Chicago, who were the Chicago guys? I forget, but he was
the
fantastic.
Bears.
I love the sport. I just love the sport. And outside linebacker was my favorite position. But anyway, with the way we came across you, Sarah said that you do book studies, and the book you were studying with your group is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Would you tell us why you do that and what happens when you do that, and why? What's the benefit?
Well, yeah, I actually started my Reading with DK book club 4 or 5 years ago, actually, when I was in New York, and I was featured in the New York Times, like front page and stuff for it, because I really wanted to encourage people, kids, adults, everyone to read more. I think we're in a generation where people find social media, people like younger generation finds video games to take up their time, and people aren't actually learning and growing. So I kind of wanted to make reading cool again. And I think there's books out there that could really educate people, that can really give them insight that is much needed. And, this time around I went with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of my favorite books of all time. It's something I've read, like this was my 10th time reading it. And for me, it kind of just shaped how I thought about my finances and the goals that I wanted to set. And, although I'm chasing my dreams in the NFL, I'm essentially like what you would call an employee in the, in the 4 categories. And eventually I'm not going to be in the NFL, and I want to get out of the employee sector and into the big investor and the business. And so kind of introducing some of those ideas to people who would never pick that up, and to think about it and encourage people. And coming from an athlete, I think a lot of professional athletes, they have football camps, they encourage people to play sports, but it hits home a little different when you have a professional athlete. I'm going into my 7th year in the NFL, and I'm actually like, hey, my hobby is reading books, and I like financial literacy, and those are the things I'm interested in, and it's cool. You should too. And I think that's how I try to use my platform to get people to read more and to take education seriously.
And Devon, is there an age group of read with DK?
When it first started, I kind of focused on kids and younger kids, but now it's kind of like, I think everyone needs to read. I think even adults. So, with this one, I wanted anybody from high school to, grown adults to read it, because I think it's something that could benefit and that everybody should take advantage and read. So that's kind of my mindset now. Like, it depends on the book. Like, some books I think will gear towards younger generation, but I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad, anybody in middle school or high school on up should read it and start to introduce themselves to some of the ideas that you guys talked about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
So what's the process? I mean, how do you group read or study together? What's the process?
So I kind of come out and I incentivize people, because I essentially come out and I say, this is the book we're reading. I give people time to go buy the book, whether they're buying it, audio book or buying hard copy, whatever they're going to do. And I give them a few weeks, and, I check in like, hey, like, I've read a few chapters, I just check in on my Instagram story here and there. And then when I'm done reading, like recently, I just finished it. So I kind of gave my thoughts on what I took most from the book. And for instance, this time around, something that really stuck out for me is the concept of it's okay to buy liabilities, but buy it with my passive income. So buying my assets first that are going to generate the revenue so I can buy some of the liabilities that I want and things that I want. So that was a lesson. I kind of shared that. And then, next week I'm going to pose a couple of questions and ask all the audience to what is the lesson that you learned from it. And I'm going to pick a couple of winners and I'm going to send them some Cardinals gear and sign it and invite a winner also out to a Cardinals game this year, assuming that there's going to be fans at the games this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And what do you get personally? I mean, I like reviewing. I'm a big reviewer of stuff because I always learn something new. So what's your juice? What do you get out of it from reviewing and teaching? Because teaching is the best,
I think that's when you really learn. And there's so much information out there now that, people will be like, how many books did you read in a year? Well, if you read 100 books in a year, but you didn't go out and do anything with the knowledge you learned from those books, then it's, I think you're wasting your time to an extent. So for me, it's reading the book, but actually what did I take from it and what can I apply from what I just read? So, that's what I am attempting to do with asking those questions and asking people, what impact did it have on you or what are some things that you learned that you can incorporate in your life? I'm hoping to get people to think about, all right, this is the one thing that I can do from Rich Dad, Poor Dad that can help me start to learn more about finances or, to get out of, whatever situation I'm in financially. So that's my goal.
So what are you personally doing from Rich Dad, Poor Dad to, for assets and things like this?
Yeah. So for me, my game is real estate as well. So being a professional athlete, I obviously don't have necessarily the time to do, buy into big projects and things like that on my own. So what I've done is I'm actually a limited partner in over 16 syndications throughout the country. So limited partner LP. So, my financial advisor and we find syndications and funds and general partners, and we get into the deals. And when I get into a deal, I try to get familiar with at least one of the general partners so I can learn the systems, because when I'm done playing, my goal is to become a general partner and not just a limited partner.
All right.
So that's kind of my goal. And then also in my personal portfolio, I buy turnkey properties in the Midwest. So there's turnkey providers. The Midwest is a great area for that. So I essentially find good turnkey providers and they sell me homes that are already renovated and I buy them. I have third-party property management that, I pay a percentage fee and I essentially get mailbox money. And I currently have 14 properties in the Midwest that are cash flowing. I'm blessed right now. So I actually paid cash for them because I wanted to purchase them first and I got a really good deal on them. And I like the amount of money I'm getting. So my return's a little lower. I'm about 7.5%, but the cash flow is high and that's what I want to protect. So when I'm done playing, I know I have, $15,000 a month coming in revenue, and that's, how I've kind of structured it and I'm building from there.
Congratulations. Hey, when we come back, we'll be going more into, you're not only making money, by being a pro athlete, by being an investor, but you're also big into giving back. So when we come back, we'll discuss with Devon how you give back. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. You can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes, Android, or YouTube, and please leave a comment. Also, we archive all of our programs at richdadradio.com. We archive because we're an education company. We make no recommendations what to buy, sell, or hold. And we archive them so you can listen to this program again, because repetition is how we learn best. And if you have friends, family, or business associates who need to listen to this program especially, listen to it at richdadradio.com and discuss it with friends, family, and business associates. Because we're talking today a very special guest. It's Devon Canard. He's a stud on the football field. He plays for the Cardinals now, but played for the Giants and the Detroit Lions. And he is a captain of the team. He's a leader, but he's also a teacher. He teaches via people group reading books, which we used to do a lot of. Group study is fantastic when it comes to a book. but also he gives back. Any comments, Kim?
Yeah, well, I went to Devon's website, and speaking of repetition, Devon is like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad for the 10th time, he said. But I went to your website, Devon, and I love how you do the book study because you throw questions. You put out really meaningful questions that get people thinking. And so it's not just reading the book and what do you think, it's like really internalizing it. I thought that was a great way to study.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes people really think deeply about what they're reading because, we get access to so much information now that sometimes people just read and never think about it again, so, right. And when you actually internalize it a little bit, I think you take more from it.
Right. And it goes in one ear, out the other with me a lot of the time, so that's why the study is just fantastic. And the other part of it, you were nominated as a finalist for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was really an honor this past year, and something that I didn't take lightly. Most of it was from my work in the community with the youth. I have a passion for kids and educating kids and making sure kids know that there's opportunity out there for them outside of just athletics, especially in inner cities. Most of the time kids feel like they either got to play sports or going to be some type of entertainer. And then when those dreams die, then, they go into crime or they, just go astray and do things that they ought not be doing. So for me, I want kids to realize there's so many ways to be successful. And I got really familiar with the Midnight Golf Program in Detroit.
Ask you about that. I'm a golfer. So what was the Midnight Golf Program? What is that?
Yeah, so at first when I went, I thought it was like a golf program, and I was like, I need to learn how to play golf. I know a lot of deals are done on the golf course. Like, let me check it out. And that's a part of what they do, but it's really a mentorship program, and it's for high school seniors, and it's in the inner city of Detroit. So they're essentially providing kids a place to go after school, but and they're teaching kids how to apply for college, how to apply for scholarships, walking them through the SAT and ACT programs. They have tours where they go to colleges all throughout the country, but specifically in the Detroit area. And you're talking about kids who are first generation college students who don't think work their butt off all high school, but don't think they're going to go to college because they can't afford it or they just don't know what to do. So they walk them through the process. And, as soon as I went, I fell in love with the program, and the kids were extremely bright. So I essentially created the Devon Canard Scholarship Program. And I had 2 scholarship winners last year, and there's a huge award ceremony, and I was one of the keynote speakers, and I spoke and gave the award. And it's kind of messed up this year because 1, I left Detroit, and then 2, the coronavirus, obviously, but I'm still doing the award. I actually just picked the finalists, and I'm announcing next week. And, I'm super excited about it. I'm having 4 finalists this year, and I'm giving each kid, $10,000. So, that's double what I did last year. So I know the kids are going to be excited and can't wait to share it with them.
Well, congratulations. But also you give back through a partnership with Salad and Go. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So when I first got to Arizona, even though I'm from here, I wanted to find a way to get back into the community. And this whole coronavirus thing was going on. And I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? How can I get in the community? And I hear a lot of people working with first responders, but I didn't see much going on with firefighters. And a couple of my close friends are actually firefighters. So Salad and Go is a Phoenix-based restaurant chain. I don't know if you guys have heard of it being out here, but they're kind of
international, isn't it?
No, they're just in Arizona.
That's a great.
Yeah, and they're actually about to start expanding, and I've been talking with the owner because I wanted to see what opportunities are there. But they're family based, and they plan on keeping it that way, and they don't want to franchise. But I've been working with them, and I partnered with them and delivered food to 4 firehouses and hung out with the firehouses for the day, and got to ride in a truck and blow the horn and do all of that. So it was a cool experience, and just trying to get back familiar with the Arizona community. And really, this is where I call home. So I really want to kind of dive in and be a part of the community again.
Yeah, thank you.
Devon, a lot of people, especially athletes, they're very successful and they make a lot of money. But what drives you to always want to be giving back? Because a lot of people do not. What drives that?
I think I have a strong faith base, and I feel like to whom much is given, much is expected. And I have a unique perspective, I think. And I feel like it's a part of my duty to share that with the world and to give back and utilize the skills I feel like I've been blessed with. And, I kind of live by a thing like empty the tank. I want to die on E, and I want to, give out as much as I can to the world and help make it a better place. So I want to utilize the platform I have.
Well, your parents did a great job with you, man.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. The final thought is this. Do you ever, you've been 7 years in the NFL. Do you see players who leave with nothing because they don't, they make a lot of money, but it's also gone?
Well, what I find the biggest issue is guys are starting to get paid more and more money. So the first issue is like the average career is only 3 years. So some guys don't play long enough to make some real money. So, their whole life work has been to play in the NFL. They finally do make it, but they only play 3 years, and maybe they have $1 million in the bank. But if you don't have any plans, that can go very quickly. So that's one issue. The next issue is some guys make a good amount of money and should be able to have a base to live on. But the problem is they create a lifestyle and they don't have any assets. They don't have any assets and they don't have any cash flow. So if you invest your 100% of your money into the stock market and all of a sudden you stop playing football and you're essentially going to be draining out your principal. You have no cash flow coming in, and most guys aren't in a position to have another high-paying job that's going to even somewhat supplement what the NFL was paying them. So slowly but surely, they're draining their principal. So it's not a matter of if they're going to go broke, it's when. So, how I strategize my, what I'm doing is I want to build that cash flow now and build the base to where I have financial independence. The day I'm done playing football, I know my family and I, all of our bills are paid with income coming from a separate entity, so multiple revenue streams. So that's a message I'm trying to educate myself on so I can share it with more athletes, because I think that's the formula to be successful when you talk about young individuals who make a lot of money early in their career and then little to nothing afterwards.
Right. Congratulations.
To support you in efforts to educate athletes, let us know.
Yeah.
we got to do something. Let's put something together, because it's a passion of mine.
Yeah. What future projects do you have in mind?
Future projects? I want to eventually get to the point where I'm educating other athletes on this, and that's why I started now. And because I want to be able to be look, I'm actually doing it. I didn't want to just have the idea. Yeah. I'm look, I'm doing it. And this is what I think is the answer to athletes going broke. So I'm trying to educate myself as much as I can, connect with people like yourselves, and have the right people, surround myself with people smarter than me, and get so good that I can teach it to others. So no athlete has to, go down that road, and more athletes are, becoming business people.
Congratulations. We had the NBA come to talk to us about teaching,
the rookies.
The rookies. They said, when you're 18 years old and you sign that contract, you become the best looking guy in school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you go through that too when you signed?
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to think you're 18 years old, and a lot of guys come from little to nothing, and then all of a sudden you throw a kid millions of dollars, a lot of put them in the limelight, and some guys go astray or make rash decisions. For me, I think I was lucky because I had a father who already been through it. So I looked at it from a different perspective, and I immediately, my whole rookie contract, the first 4 years of my NFL career, I drove my high school car still. And I didn't go and get a new car until I signed my second contract, leading up to signing my second contract. So, I'm good about kind of learning from other people's mistakes, and I didn't want to be another statistic, and having a father go through it, it kind of gave me a different outlook.
Well, and that's so good, because when we were called into the NBA to and Robert was going to go speak to the rookies, it was the agents and the managers that did not want these kids financially educated. Well,
because when you're not financially educated, professional athletes and entertainers, they lean on their counsel. That's law. what your agent tells you and what your financial advisor tells you, like, you don't know any better, so you take their word for law. And so when you start to threaten that by saying we're going to educate these people and have them make decisions outside of that, I think that scares them. And I think that's a sign of the people you don't want to work with. Like, you know, and that's why I handpicked my financial advisor, and they help me build what I'm building, and they want me to be educated. And I think that's a sign that needs to be a marker of who you're going to work with. Are they actually trying to educate you? Or are they just telling you this is what you need to invest in, do this, do that? And you never understand what you're in, what you're doing. And, you know, like, you're not in control of your own life.
Right. So, Devon, congratulations. You know, we're proud of you, and, you know, keep up the great work and keep teaching and inspiring. And we'll see you with the Cardinals this year, you know, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll be cheering for you. Yeah, hopefully we'll get those games going soon.
Hey, if you guys are in Phoenix, you guys are going to have to come to a game if it's allowed this year.
All right.
We would love it.
I love it. Anyway, thank you, Devon.
Thank you, Devon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And we'll come back with some final words with Kim. We'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. And I want to thank Devon Canard. You know, that was inspiring. You know, I mean, you know, I played football. I wasn't hardly good. But to make it to the pros and then to captain the team, I mean, the dedication, the desire, because the world is full of talented people. But to reach the very top, that is something else. It takes a drive that very few people have. What do you think, Kim? Well,
he's very inspiring. Not just that, I mean, to separate, you know, the elite that make it to the pro football, but then all of the giving back that he does and teaching people and wanting to educate people and now wanting to educate the athletes. I mean, he really is making such fantastic use of the role that he's now playing. And I know he inspires a lot of young people. So it's so refreshing to see, and really it was such a joy to talk with him.
Oh, he's amazing. Anyway, you know, the story I always tell is when my pro career ended was I got to school in New York, and I was playing the position I love with the same position he plays, outside linebacker. And then this guy named Dockery came on the field, and he played for the New York Jets, and he was a safety. He looked like a movie star, you know, and he was all Ivy League and just the handsomest, cool, good-looking, sharp. And so I said, oh, man, I want to be just like him. And that son of a bitch could run sideways faster than I could run forward. And he could run backwards farther than I could run forward. And I realized then my pro career was over, because it was more than just desire and drive. Their talent is ungodly. And my other favorite story is Rod Smith, the captain of the Broncos. And he went to a little dinky school, like Southern Missouri College or something, and he goes to the pros, to the Broncos. And all these guys are from Stanford, you know, Michigan State, all the Texas and all this. And I said, how did you take that? He says, they just inspired me. You know, because they went into the big name schools and they were kind of cocky and all that. He says, I just had to outwork them. And when you hear stories like that, and they're so talented as it is, but they have that little extra inside of them that makes a difference. Final words on that, Kim?
Yeah, the other story I remember, Robert, is, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was a professional football player, and he actually put all the principles of Rich Dad into his life. So he had property and he had cash flow, and he wanted to make sure that if anything happened, if he got injured or if he got cut, that he would be in good shape financially. And I remember him telling us that Ellen DeGeneres show had called, and they wanted him to come on and talk about what he had done.
I remember that, yeah.
Remember, from the football and the financial side. And then right before he was going to go on the show, he got cut from the team. And the producer called from Ellen DeGeneres and said, oh, sorry, you got cut. We don't want you on the show anymore. And he had prepared for just that moment. That's what the whole show was about, that he was financially prepared for whatever happened. And it happened. And then they said, no, we don't want you on the show. So exactly as Devon is saying, you know, if there's an injury or he gets cut or something happens, financially, he's going to be in good shape, which is what's happening for a lot of people today with the whole coronavirus, who have followed our philosophy or other philosophies and are financially okay because of it, where a lot of people are not, unfortunately.
Yeah, and one of the great joys of being part of the Rich Dad organization is so many people come to talk to us, like Clarissa of the NBA. And she tells us some funny stories. These young kids are 18, 19 years old. They're multimillionaires, but they're broke soon afterwards. And, you hear stories like that. And so that's why to have guys like, Devon and Rod Smith and Terrell Davis and all the other people, they're such great role models, and that inspires us to keep doing our work. So anyway, final words, Kim?
No, you said it very, very well. It's people like that and people that we meet every day. People say, why do you keep doing it? It's because of that, because they inspire us to keep going. And that means the world. Whenever anybody says hello to us on the street, thank you for writing your book and creating the cash flow game. It's changed things for us. That's all we need to hear. That's what keeps us going.
And that's especially true today. Anyway, thank you all very much for listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show. We don't know who our next guest will be, but it'll be exciting and educational as ever. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show.
Thank you very much.